Hey everyone. So this is just me this is me doing the outlines for the topics that I come up with in the last video. These articles are essentially it's for a new client of mine who specializes in charity law in Australia. Last video I created 5 topics to write about, and this video is essentially for me to just show step by step, like a live stream type of thing, of me creating the outlines for one of the articles, or one of the topics of the articles. So, yeah, just I'm going to speak my thoughts, and then you can see everything that's going on my screen. And yeah, so I don't expect many people to watch this, but it's hopefully it's helpful for people to see like the actual process of coming up with outlines for these topics, for these articles, which are supposed to help rank my client. This is the exact same process that I do for my other clients when I create SEO content for them, which help them rank number one for all their targeted practice areas on Google. So yeah, hopefully it's a kind of short video. I don't make short videos, unfortunately, so it's relatively short, hopefully. But I know it's going to be kind of long. So yeah, just get a coffee or have some tea, plug in your headphones, and just watch how I do it. So the first topic really that I'm going to be creating an outline for is how to start a charity in Australia. So let me have a look if I could put it on the screen here. There we go. Okay, cool. So you can see that these are the 5 topics. How to start a charity in Australia. So what I would firstly do is I would just do a quick Google. Okay, cool. And then I would find a few of the top performing results. So I could see what kind of subtopics are included in these top ranking results. There should be some more. Here's what you need to do. Birch Grove, register as a charity, how to start a charity, how to set up a foundation. Let's have a look if there's any others. And you'll notice that I'm not actually just getting the top results on the first page. I'm scrolling down to the second, third, even like the 4th pages to really get a good overview of all the subtopics that we should include. Only because a result is on the first page doesn't mean that we should be looking at just those results. There's a lot of good content out there that's not ranking on the first page or second page or the third page, and a lot of it's not because it's bad content, although that could be a good reason, which is why we're checking all these different articles. But a good reason why a lot of articles don't rank is just because they're not been optimized for SEO properly. So we'll have a look at a few as I scroll down to the 4th and 5th pages. I can see that it's not really there's not many examples that I could look at. So cool. I got a good few number of search results, so I could just start skimming and reading the content and seeing what pages and search results have good content that we could inspire. That could inspire the outline of the outline of subtopics for this topic. Of how to start a charity in Australia. So this one's pretty crap because it's just got links, so we'll close that. Okay, this one's good because it has, I guess, it's a guide on what to do before you start a charity. So it's got some background research, outline, find your purpose, the resources, so I guess like funds and stuff, funding requirements, besides. So this is like a list of considerations before you actually do the steps of starting a charity, I assume. Yeah, it is. Cool. All right. I'm not going to close that. It's that the considerations before you start a charity is an important subtopic. It could be a topic on its own that's separate to how to actually start a charity. So I'm not going to close this just yet. Although I'm trying to keep, the topic focused to how to start a charity. So we'll have a look. Setting up a charity. Let's have a look. Cool. So this one's got a bit of a spiel at the beginning on what a charity is. And then it's got some more information on the actual background, I guess, of some of the. It's sort of helping explain a little bit more about the legislation of the meaning of a community need. Okay, so these are more like, this article is kind of like a considerations list as well, because it's asking you to consider your fundraising methods. And understanding the costs of starting up a charity, understanding the role. So this is a list of considerations as well. Cool. Again, I'm not really sure. So there's a few articles on the considerations before you start a charity, as opposed to actually how to start a charity. Those two are distinctly different, because considerations before starting a charity is stuff you should think about before you decide on starting a charity, whereas how to start a charity should include the actual steps that someone will take to actually start the charity, like what forms you should complete. I'm assuming, I haven't read the rest of the articles, what forms you should complete, which link you should click, which information you should gather, stuff like that. Someone Googling how to start a charity is probably already, I guess when the intention of someone Googling how to start a charity is different to the intention of someone who's deciding whether they should start a charity or what to think about before starting a charity. Although they are related topics. How do I start a charity? Okay, Titian Liner FC Law, charity and not-for-profit guide. Cool. Okay, so got a pitch. Works with charities. Cool. It's more pitch. Okay, so this first section of this article is pretty crap. Excuse my language, I'm not here to roast anyone. It's pretty crap in the sense that when someone's trying to figure out how to set up a charity, they don't care about this law firm and what they do. They just want to get answers. You could obviously pitch your business at the end of the article once the person's gotten their answer, but at the beginning, if someone, I'll probably scroll past this. Again, I'm not an SEO expert, so maybe this works. Just take what I say with a grain of salt. Wow, it's the whole page. This whole section is just a pitch on what they do. If I were to write this article, which I will, I'll probably rank higher than this one. Although, looking at the length of this article, Jesus, how long is this article? That's probably why it's on the first page, because of the length. And because of the length, it could put in more keywords, which Google will think is a helpful article because it has more relevant keywords. But if you could write a just as long article with actual helpful content, or at the very least better structured content, we could probably rank higher than this. What is a charity? Okay, so it's talking about what is a charity. Cool. What does not-for-profit mean? Yeah. So we haven't gone to the answer yet. How do you define a charitable purpose? What can you have a sports charity? How is that even related to how do I start a charity? Okay, so as we scroll down, so we still haven't gone to the actual answer of how to start a charity. It's just more explanatory notes and paragraphs on related subtopics. Okay, here we go. How do I set up a charity? I guess this is where we start. So the site reader had to scroll through all this just to then get to this bit about how to set up a charity. Okay. So this is a good bit that I should probably rephrase or expand into. TDG. See, this is more like a flyby blog audit again, but this subtopic on tax deductible gifts is it's so hard to read. If you're not a lawyer and you know what to look for, then your eyes are gonna glaze over and just scroll past this. This is so technical. Should I start a charity? Okay, now that's a different topic entirely. What are the reporting requirements? I guess this is more of a general guide on charities in general, because when we scroll up, even though they begin the topic with how do I start a charity, it's actually a guide on charity and not-for-profit. So I wouldn't write. I would split this into two different articles, honestly. Anyways, so just thinking out loud, I would actually. I think I might create an outline just with these steps as subtopics. So these are the actual steps of how to set up a charity, and then obviously we can have another article on should I start a charity or considerations before starting a charity. Those are separate topics. We'll keep going. Setting up an NFP. Okay. So when we scroll down, it's sort of halfway that we start seeing the registration process for an NFP. NFP is a not-for-profit, which is a general term that includes charities. So charities are always NFP, but not all NFPs are charities. So that's why I guess this article, the Australian government, it's talking about NFPs first, and then it's talking about charities. Okay, cool. Okay, I like this one more. It goes straight to the point. So it's got some considerations you should have first, right, about the structure, but then it goes straight into adopting the Constitution, incorporating with ASIC, applying for an ABN. This is kind of how I imagine the article I'll be writing to follow. Just practical steps on how to start a charity. Let me see. Look, this blog can certainly be improved in terms of readability. So let me just have a look at the ranking for this article. Emil Ford. Yeah, okay, it's on the first page. Not bad. I could certainly write an article that would rank higher than that because I already know what to do better than Emil Ford. Emil Ford, if you're watching, don't do anything. You're perfect. Your article is perfect. I'm just kidding. There's certainly improvements. Perhaps you can copy what I write. But yeah, let's keep going. Should your group register as a charity? Okay, now that is rather irrelevant, so I'll close out of that. Here's what you need to consider. Okay, so the considerations is certainly a different topic. Yeah, no, not that one. Before you start, okay. So, yeah, no, it's a different topic. How to start a charity, cool. This is a useless article. Sorry, Julie Huang from LawPath. Not here to roast anyone. If you're gonna have an article answering how to start a charity, actually provide the answers instead of having a link saying start now. It's but again, that's probably why this article is ranked very low. So let's have a look. LawPath. Yeah, I think it's on the second page. So probably on the bottom of the second page. Yeah. All goods. This is why I'm creating these videos, so everyone in the legal industry can write better articles and help themselves to get better SEO rankings in order to get more leads. Or if you don't have time to do it, you can get me to do it. that's a shameless plug. Okay, no, that's a pretty bad article. LawPath, 8-step checklist. Okay, guys, this is a checklist of considerations before you start a charity. So again, not very relevant. How do I set up a not-for-profit charity? Cool. Gosh, this is a pretty bad article to read because it's not very readable because the formatting is very like the bolded titles for each subtopic is barely distinguishable from the actual paragraphs. So when and the coloring of the font doesn't help either because it just makes it less visible for you to really scroll and skim and really get a general idea of what paragraph is talking about what. No, I should read it. Let me have a look. So it's talking about the requirements. Okay. So it's got some considerations that you should have. And then it's talking about the type of corporate structure for a charity. Again, not very helpful. Okay, I'll close out of that. So I think this one from this article is a good basis, as well as this article, but specifically this section of this massive article here. And one other thing I want you to notice how long this article is, right? This article is massive. And notice how short this other article is, right? And yet, look at the results in the rankings. It's the short article is only one ranking below the other really long article. So it's not about the length. I mean, yes, the long article is ranked higher, right? But it's focusing on just the length of an article is not going to, and keyword stuffing it is not going to get you to rank extraordinarily high. because clearly an article that's probably one fourth the length of a really long article is also ranking in a similar position for the same keywords. So it's not about the keyword stuffing, right? It really is about how helpful and directly. Sorry, it's really about how helpful your article is and how it answers the question of how it meets the intention of Google's user. Because I'm going to keep saying this. Google wants to serve the best, most helpful and direct answers to their search users. Google knows that their customers, their search users, are trying to find answers. And so they'll always rank higher any article or any resource or any link that helps their users get that answer. And so I'm going to keep repeating that also to remind myself as well. Okay, cool. So really is just these two articles here. That's fine. That's a good starting point. Okay, so what I did was I went back into the archives of my ChatGPT account, back to when I was still writing these personally for my clients. And what I found was this chat, when I was using ChatGPT 3.5, you'll see here the prompt. You see the prompt, I'm an SEO specialist for my client, they want a case, and I found a few articles online to talk about in my proposed article. I would like you to write an article that incorporates the facts of the case I was going to provide as well as from the articles I found. So essentially, ChatGPT then misinterpreted what I said and actually wrote an article without me giving them the resources. But essentially my prompt was to telling them, hey, I found a few articles online. I want you to write an article based on the content and the sample articles that are provided. And specifically for this article, I had also pasted in the case notes of a recent case that my client had won in court. And I wanted ChatGPT to also incorporate that case into this article. So my client here, the charity law client, they don't have a case, and nor is a case really relevant to the question of how to start a charity. So I'm not going to put in anything like that. So what I'm essentially going to do is, well, let me scroll down. You can literally see me just pasting in word for word the articles that I found online, right? You can really, I even left the dates. I even left the dates in there. And then you can see here ChatGPT asking me to paste in more articles until I tell it to start. Okay, let me have a look. This is another article that I pasted. All right, cool, here. And that said, that is the last article. Before you write the actual article, please come up with an outline of the article and what you propose should be the subheadings that you will discuss. Only use facts from the articles and the case that I have provided. Do not use any other facts beyond what I have provided. Understood? And what ChatGPT did was essentially create an outline for the article. Based on the information provided in the articles and the case you shared, here's the outline. So in this case, this was an article about mold in rental houses and how to deal with mold in apartments, essentially. And it's given an introduction, which then includes, so it's got the outline of the subtopics indicated with the itemized 1, 2, 3 here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it's got dot points of what ChatGPT is proposing to write about under each subtopic. So I quite liked what ChatGPT created. It looked like it made sense. It was directly answering a lot of the question, with the relevant paragraphs and considerations. And then we got a case study as well, summarizing details of the case and highlighting its relevancy to answering the question, and then a conclusion at the end. One piece of feedback I essentially provided ChatGPT was I didn't want it. So I provided some feedback to ChatGPT, asking it to cover I actually said I don't want the article to talk about tenants' rights and landlord responsibilities. I didn't think that those two subtopics were relevant enough to the answer of the question. And you can see here, I solely want the article to cover what an apartment owner can do to claim compensation and rectify the mold issue. So, and then just provided the revised outline. And then I essentially said, please proceed with writing the article. But I'll put that into another video. So stay tuned, subscribe. So that's essentially it. That's the outline. And that is the outline. So here's some considerations as to why I think this is a good outline. So it all boils down to what is the topic about, right? In this case, my client who specialises in strata law and laws regarding apartments and property in Australia and New South Wales. My client recently won, at this point in time, they had won a case where they were representing, they were representing an apartment owner who, what was it? They were, what was the case actually? Let me have a look at what the case was. I don't want to misrepresent. Okay, so this is a case note. Okay, so this, yeah, so I just reminded myself on what this case was about. And this is, again, this is, if you're a law firm or if you're a lawyer and you recently won a case, that's the perfect opportunity to write about it. Not just write about the case, but get some key lessons from that case I had won and turn it into an article that answers a specific question relating to the case. So not only do you have an article that answers a question, but you can also plug your own successes and demonstrate your own expertise in that area of law by then highlighting your actual case that you had won and giving a brief background. So that's essentially what I did. My client, they specialize in property and strata law in Australia, and their client, they had purchased an apartment. They purchased an apartment, and it was experiencing mold issues. And as a result of that, they weren't able to rent out that apartment to tenants because of the mold, leaving the apartment owner suffering losses because they weren't able to, because they had purchased the apartment for an investment purpose. They weren't able to lease it out, and so they were losing money essentially. Right? They could have received rental income, but they didn't because of the mold. And so what happens then? What can someone in that situation do? Right? That's a common question. And so the article that I was writing was essentially answering, what can someone in that situation do, right? If you own an apartment and there's mold issues, what can you do, right? And so that was the purpose of the article, and that was a question that the article was supposed to answer. And so looking at that purpose, then we should look at the actual outline itself and why I think this was a good outline. First, he's got an introduction, right? So we could call out to the people who landed on this article, so we could immediately relate to them and let them know, hey, we understand what you're talking about. We understand your situation, and you can expect an answer to your question if you read further. That is the introduction. Short and brief, one paragraph, maybe two, depending on how much information how much information is included in the article. So intro is always given, right? It's a given. You shouldn't write an article without introduction. It's just essay 101. If you're a lawyer, you would know back in law school, always have an introduction, right, and always have a conclusion. Otherwise, you lose marks. And so the first actual subtopic besides introduction is recognizing the impacts of mold in apartments. So here we're talking about why is this an issue, right? Yes, the topic is about what to do when you're dealing with mold in an apartment, but we want to relate to the actual reader and let them understand that we know why mold is an issue, right? Mold is not just some fun thing that you could just, mold, right? There's a problem, and so we briefly discussing what the damage is that the mold can create, financial damage or otherwise, and that's really it's like a brief, I guess, it's just a way to relate to just a way for the reader to understand that we understand them. And then secondly is we identify the responsibility for mold issues in apartments. That's the second subtopic. And so here we are then talking about who should be responsible, right? Because if someone wants to know what they should do when there's mold in their apartment, obviously an important consideration for them is who should be responsible, right? So here we're talking about the different factors that determine who's responsible for mold in the apartment. Because we can't then tell them what the steps of addressing the mold issue if we don't know who's responsible. And so the next subtopic is the actual steps on claiming compensation for mold damage. So here's the actual steps on what to do when you get mold damage. by saying claim compensation, we are directly speaking to the article reader that we understand what their main concern is, right? Their main concern is they want to get financial compensation for the mold. Otherwise, they wouldn't really be Googling what to do with mold in an apartment, right? Because again, this is from experience, and this is also from intuition when you think about it, and an understanding of what your clients care about. Or if you're a lawyer, understanding what their clients care about. This is where you demonstrate your expertise in this area of law by not just coming up with a generic steps or a list of steps, but actually calling out what we understand the law firm's clients care about. And by doing that, the law firm's clients or law firm's ideal clients who are reading this article will then see, oh wow, this lawyer actually knows what I care about, and they would be more inclined to actually reach out to you as a lead. And so that's why we're calling out steps to claim compensation, because that's what we know why people care. That's why we're not, people aren't looking to see what they could do about mold in their apartment for fun. They're not doing it to, because for ethical reasons or anything. It's likely because they want to get financial compensation because they've suffered financially from mold in their apartment. I'm repeating myself. I'm sorry. I really should tighten up my videos, my video script, so I don't repeat myself too often. My partner says that all the time. And so that's where we talk about the steps on claiming compensation. The next subtopic is what to do to actually fix the mold, right? And so that's another main consideration of someone wanting to answer or someone wanting to find out what to do with mold in an apartment. Is they actually want to fix the mold. It's not, getting financial compensation is one thing and is very important, but yes, you get financial compensation. But if the mold is still in the apartment, it doesn't matter, right? You still need to get rid of the mold. And so here we're providing some steps, some practical steps on how to actually rectify the mold and remove the mold and underlying causes and stuff. Again, demonstrating our understanding or the law firm's understanding of the person who's Googling this question. The last is legal considerations and expert advice. So here we're then talking about sort of plugging a little bit about what this law firm can do for them, right? Because we don't just want to write a practical guide. Yes, we do. We want to write a practical guide that answers a question of the site reader. But because this is a law firm website, we should also try to put in some type of subtopic that talks about the legal aspects. So to really get the lead thinking about what are some legal implications, what are some legal steps what are some legal considerations that they should have when they're trying to answer this question, right? Think of another example. Let's just say you are a plumber, right? Yes, you can write an article about all the different types of pipes in the world, right? Different types of pipes, what type of pipes you should use in an apartment. You could list all the different types of pipes, all the different types of plastics and different shapes and the tubing. I know nothing about plumbing at all, but you could write that. But what good does that do for the actual plumbing business who is writing that article? Yes, you can demonstrate expertise about the different types of pipes, but you'd rather also try to get the person reading the article to think more about how they could use your services. So that's why we left at the end of the article here, is once we've given the answer and demonstrated our value and expertise to the site reader, that we know what we're talking about, that we understand what the situation is, then we can start getting to think about how they could use our legal services to help the situation, right? So here we're talking about the legal considerations, about just the legal considerations. I forgot what the actual paragraph was about because this was half a year ago, or maybe I think 5 months ago, something like that. But yeah, and then we have a conclusion to really nicely wrap it up. Again, if you're a lawyer, you should know this. Have a concluding paragraph to all your essays or to all your articles. I should stop saying essays. And that's it. That is why it's a good outline. So let me sort of recap. Consider what the article is really answering, right? And then put into ChatGPT all the different types of. Actually, you know what? Let me show you. Let me just do it. I already create. How do I write a new? There we go. ChatGPT 4. You can copy my prompt as well. It's really just off the cuff. I am an SEO expert who is writing an article for. You know what? No. Rather, instead of SEO expert, I am a law firm specializing in charity law in Australia, and I want to write a practical guide on how to start a charity. I what are the steps someone should take to start a charity? I have, and here is, I, I guess it's for my ethical. For me, it feels better to say this ethically speaking. I'd say something like, I have written a few draft articles on this topic. I say that instead of saying I've copied, or I found some other articles online. I've written a few draft articles on this topic, and I want you to um, look at it with fresh eyes and come up with a new article outline that answers how to start a charity in Australia. The outline and content of the article must not include any details or facts outside of the two drafts that I will be sending you. I want the outline of the article to include both the heading of each subtopic for this article, as well as a few dot points about what the preceding paragraphs for each heading will talk about. Can you do that? All right, sweet. So then I'll paste in the first bit. Where is it? Here. Ooh, it's okay. So ChatGPT does this often. It starts writing the outline before I've completed it, before I've provided it all the articles that I want it to be inspired by. So I'm gonna just let it run and do its thing, and then tell it, hey, I didn't give you all the drafts yet. And then it'll understand. Please go share the rest of your drafts. Cool. Let me share this one. Bam. And that's the last draft. For any mention, oh, there we go. Cool. Now, please write the outline. Let's have a look. All right, let's have a look. It's got an intro, easy, yeah. And then it's asking, well, it's then telling the person to choose a charity structure, which I assume is important because depending on a charity structure, you'll need to understand whether you need a constitution and how to register or how to create that corporate structure. So, yeah. So some charities in Australia are structured as a company, while others are structured as a trust. Yep, that's an important consideration. So here is when you start seeing me actually just validating the outlines, seeing how relevant they are to answering the actual topic. So I don't just take it. I don't just take whatever ChatGPT gives me as a first draft and just use that as the outline. I do validate it. Again, you need industry experience, or you need to educate yourself to actually know whether the outlines are good or not. And so that is that industry experience and the industry knowledge and a deep understanding of what you're writing about is super important in creating a helpful article. Because I've seen so many people on Facebook who pump out like 100 articles a day or 100 articles a month, and most of them are fluff and just aren't very helpful at all. And so those type of articles that Google is trying to derank and trying to not try to push in their search results because they're just not valuable. And so at the very least, when writing an article, we should at the very least validate the outline and see whether everything the article is going to be talking about is relevant to answering the question of the topic. So that's what I'm doing. And you can see how I'm doing it. I'm just reading the original articles and seeing whether it's legit, whether it's relevant enough. So next is drafting the governing documents. Yeah, guidance on drafting. Cool. So then the next step is drafting, which includes adopting a constitution. Yeah, because you need to write a constitution, so that makes sense. And yeah, cool. And then if we look at the other one, draft constitution, governing documents, easy. Next, incorporation and registration. You got to incorporate and register your charitable organization, be it a trust or a company. That makes sense. That includes these two paragraphs here about incorporating with ASIC and applying for an Australian business number. Amazing. Understanding tax concessions and DGR status. So I'm assuming this topic is important about understanding tax concessions and DGR, which is deductible gift recipient status, because when you're setting up a charity, as I explained in my previous video, when you set up a charity in Australia, you can also, if you meet the requirements of a DGR status, you can also become a deductible gift recipient as a charity. This is more stringent. It's more stringent criteria to meet when you're a charity. So I guess that isn't. So if you want to start a charity that has DGR status, this is an important consideration or important step. So that makes sense. So which one of these include DGR? Yeah. See, this is a rather good outline. This here is actually a pretty good step-by-step process. Unfortunately, they didn't go into detail about this. If they had gone into detail about how to do each one of these, and just use that as an article, that would be a killer article. So that's why I'm doing it. So preparing for fundraising, and then talk about fundraising. So I guess fundraising is an important step in starting a charity because you can't start a charity without money. So yeah, and then there's conclusion. So I'm rather happy with this one. So that's the outline. That's how I come up with the outline. Yeah, essentially it is understanding the topic that you want to write about, finding all the good articles that you can find online on that specific topic, pasting it into ChatGPT and asking it to create an outline by giving ChatGPT word for word all the articles that you found online that you want to model your article on, and then assessing the outline to see how good or relevant it is. So those are the steps. I don't want to make it more complicated. It really isn't more complicated than that. The outline is probably the easiest part in terms of writing an SEO optimized high ranking article. And as we go along, for the next video, when I actually write the article, you'll see how possibly I'll be changing some of the outlines, some of the subtopics in the outline, depending on the content that I'll be writing. Because again, the outline is not set in stone until you actually started writing the article. But it's an outline. It's a good starting point, and it gives you some structure as to how the whole article should read. So that is it, guys. 45 minutes. The video length is 45 minutes, and yeah. So if there's any questions, just let me know. I'm not sure if I should be. I might create a shorter video just summarizing these steps, as opposed to you guys. Obviously, I'm going to post this video about me showing the actual steps, but maybe a shorter video for the people who either don't have time or are interested in seeing the whole steps. They just want to figure things out themselves, but still get guidance. I'll create a shorter video on the fundamentals of. And yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I don't know what happened to the editing at the very end of that previous clip that you saw. It just sort of cut out. But I will make a shorter video summarizing these steps for people who probably don't have time to watch these longer long-form videos and just want to get an understanding of what to do, and they can just figure it out themselves. So I'll create that video shortly, and also create a video on how to actually write these high-ranking videos. That's going to be a juicy one. It's going to be kind of long and includes a lot of tidbits and hints on exactly what to do. So yeah, thanks so much, guys, and yeah, stay safe. See ya.